Well, as soon as y'all came back from Katrina, Santiago was supposed to be the deck chief over there with you guys, and y'all were doing a gear swap and pulling gear from me at BTO. And we were just, you know, kind of shooting the shit. We had spent the previous cycle together, you know, out in Iraq on the 24th Mu. And he was like, man, I really don't want to go again. My wife and my kids. I was just talking shit to him, and I was like, bro, I'd go. You know, I was a sergeant. I had been a sergeant for like 6 months or something, whatever. And I was like, bro, I'd go. And he's like, for real? You know how Santiago got really excited. He was excitable. And I was like, yeah, man, I'll go. I didn't ask my wife. I didn't, you know, I shooting from the hip. I'll go. And he's like, okay, hold on. And he was a staff sergeant then. He went into Captain Gilly and Lieutenant Kelly, which was BTO's CO and XO at the time. And they pulled me in there and they put me at parade rest and all that shit. And they're like, what is this you guys are talking about switching places? And I'm like, switching places? I just said I'd go, you know, like, I don't know. So apparently it was a big deal. But Captain, man, me and Lieutenant Colonel Gilly, me and Colonel Gilly, we're still good friends. And he was like, Sergeant Rubio, if you think you can take it, you can take it. I just feel that they had, you know, trust and confidence in me. Boom. Next day, I was over there with you guys. Steven said, hey, man, you be the platoon sergeant, I'll be the deck chief. I was like, nah, bro. Nah, man, I've done this. He's like, but these are my guys. I was at Katrina with them. You know, I've already built that camaraderie with them and this and that. And I said, man, bro, you just got promoted to sergeant. I've been a sergeant for 6 months or 8 months by now. And he was like, well, let's go talk to Gunny Cole. And I was like, okay, let's go talk to Gunny Cole. Gunny Cole said, who's senior? And I was like, I am. He said, you're in charge. Boom. End of the story, man, right? So then I joined you. This all happens like within a couple days, man, real quick. So I haven't met you guys yet. And Smith had been on the cycle before. So he greets me. And you guys are all out playing soccer. We'll say this is day one, right? So I check in. Takes me half a day. I go meet you guys on the soccer field in the afternoon. And I said, Smith, who's the baddest motherfucker in the platoon? And, and he said, well, you don't want to fight Estrada because he'll punch you in the face. And I'm talking about just like grappling or whatever. And he said, you know, Brady's real tough, but you know, I got 50 pounds on Brady. So, you know, that didn't make no sense. And he said, it's going to be between Grignon and Chavez. And it's funny that you guys are all on the chat right now. He said, it's going to be between Grignon and Chavez. He said, you know, Chavez is your size. He's going to.
I remember that shit. It was at the soccer field.
Yeah, the soccer field. So y'all may or may not remember this, but.
I remember that shit.
I asked Kevin Smith, I was like, I'm about to whoop the baddest dude's ass, you know? And I'm talking about just tap out grappling or whatever.
But no one's ass, dude.
No, I don't remember anybody's ass getting whooped.
Let him go.
Let me just finish, guys.
Yeah, let him go.
So by no means did I think that I was the biggest, baddest dude. I just played a good character on TV, that's all. So so we get to the soccer fields, and I think I'm in camis, and y'all are in PT gear, and I'm like, Chavez, come here. Everybody comes over there. And I was like, I heard you're badass or something like that. I heard you wanted to whoop my ass, whatever I said. And he was like, huh? You know how Chavez does that stupid face, huh? So I said, let's go. I said, let's go. And I think I dropped my blouse or whatever. And he's like, okay, fuck it, you know, whatever. And bro, so I'll finish my story right here, man. We went at it for 10 minutes. There's no way that I was going to tap out the Chavez, but I was so jelly. There was no way I was inflicting any kind of pain on him. I wasn't doing nothing except for just not tapping out. So I wasn't a wrestler in high school. I don't have like an MMA background. I was just an athlete that was talking shit. That's all. But I
remember that day, dude.
I had to prove myself.
You fuckers told me about that. Like after it happened, you were like, yeah.
That was my first day in the yards, man. I had to prove myself.
Wow.
And I didn't want to get punched in the face by Estrada because he wouldn't have wrestled me. He would just punch me or grab my balls or something. That's it.
Hey, Estrada, remember when you beat up that that kid at LS company and the MPs came.
Oh,
And they're
dude,
like, who did this? He was like, this guy. He's like, you did that to him? He's like, what? He's like, I only hit him one time. They're like, no, you didn't. He's like, I swear to God.
Yeah, I think they thought we jumped him. Remember?
Yeah. They're like, who beat you up? And he's like, just him. And they were like, you didn't do that to him by yourself. You're like, yeah. Like, how many times you hit him? You're like, one time.
Hey, Chavez, I'm glad you brought that story.
What was that kid's name? Hayes. Jimmy probably remembers Hayes.
I think it was Hayes. All right, I can't remember.
This
Yeah,
was a,
yeah.
I don't know how much you want to talk about with it recording, but
he took his beer, didn't he? Is that when the guy that took his beer?
Yeah.
Hey, Chavez, I'm glad that you brought that up. And Michael, just to kind of recap what you just kind of feed that back. So essentially, you were a sergeant, brand new for, you had 6 months time in rank. You kind of talked your way into, or the opportunity was there, and you kind of took it to take a leadership position with the MU, leading the LS Marines essentially, and then you kind of wanted to exert your dominance by in a physical form. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Being like an athlete, you want to go out there and show what you got. Well, I wasn't going to go HST you to death. I wasn't going to go port op you to death. I was just going to say, oh, hey, look, I'm here. I'm one of the guys. Like, I'm not too good to get dirty. Whatever, man. Let's go, And I thought it was a good way to start, us being together.
Gotcha. Do you guys
Well, you
remember?
sucked at soccer, dude, so.
I did. I never played soccer before, bro. I never ever. That was my fucking first time.
Yeah.
You and Estrada, man. You guys sucked, man.
I don't even want to hear about this, Chavez.
hey, that was some good shit though. Nobody could mess with us in any sports. Whenever you're talking about the MU or any other platoon,
Fuck them up,
you
dude.
name whatever sport, man. We
We
go
played
out.
football against Motor Chief that one time. Remember that shit?
The what?
Tackle football? Like, we all went straight fucking gangster with it, dude.
Oh yeah, Castile ended up with a broken nose. I mean, people were getting bloodied up every time we went out and played football. But we killed it in soccer. We were untouchable in soccer.
Yeah.
Soccer.
Dude, Rubio changed my whole outlook on the fucking Marine Corps, man.
How so?
Like, straight up, like, he was, like, one of my biggest influences to be a good fucking Marine.
At the moment. But, Rubio had a very positive outlook that you didn't find in a whole lot of other senior Marines. So, that fool was always smiling. He was able, in what we did together, just talking about like soccer and basketball and football, going out and waking up at 4:30 in the morning and PTing. We were the baddest motherfuckers around in on the 2-4 MU, dude. We were cock diesel. I mean, if we rolled up in a bar somewhere, people cleared away. I mean, Burnett was ripping doors off of bars. I mean, we were some bad mamma jammas, dude. And Rubio was at the tip of the spear as far as that went. So, no, dude, you were a badass leader, and you know that, man. And we were tight. So, no, I got nothing but respect for the guy.
Thanks, Jimmy.
You're welcome, sweetheart.
Estrada, anything to add to that?
No, I think I agree with Grignon all the way, man. I don't want to mention names neither, but he was a great leader, man. He's still today. He's still one of my best friends. I love that man sitting there with that ugly shirt, ridiculous. But I love him, man. He's a good person, great leader. Same thing, nothing but respect and love.
Joey, man, it was never a rank thing, man. We're just dudes. You could be a PFC or a sergeant major, man. You're the same guy. If you're a dickhead sergeant major, you were probably dickhead PFC too. Like not much changes in who you are as a person. And the Marine Corps didn't make me, man. Like my upbringing, my cousins. I grew up in a big family and a family environment, and so you had to learn to get along with people. And I think that's what I knew how to do, was just get along with people. the same guy that I was as a sergeant, bro, I was that dude as a gunny. You can imagine, man, I was telling motherfuckers off left and right as a gunny.
Yeah.
First sergeant majors fucking hated me, man, because I didn't take no shit. I knew who my boss was, bro. And I mean, and Joe, your dad probably would have told you this. Like, you work for officers. Like, I didn't work for enlisted dudes. I worked for officers. So I knew how to be cool with my officers and then to just tell everybody else to fuck off. Like, man, bro, I don't work for you, man. Like, I knew who I worked for. The CO. I work for the CO. That's it.
Yeah.
So I'm literally, I retired last year or a couple years ago, and I was the same fucking dude, man. And I don't know too many Marines that I ever just didn't like at all. I mean, less than 5 in 17 years. And I can't even name them. I can probably name 2 or 3 that I just fucking hated. It wasn't none of you guys. I mean, no doubt. Like, I can't even remember very few bad experiences that I had with any of you guys. I mean, man, one time with Castile, and I still love him to death because we got over it. Like, as soon as it happened, we got over it, and it wasn't no issue. So, no issues with anybody on our deployment outside of that one other sergeant.
How about that time you woke up with Estrada and you guys didn't remember what happened?
No, hold up, man. This Swanson got promoted in Kuwait, and y'all might have been there, man. We were in Kuwait and we were doing like wash down or something, and he just got promoted. He's like, and I said, hey, man, everybody get to bed at like 2200 or be back in the tent by 2200 because we got to get up early the next day to go do wash down. And Swanson said, he's like, I'm a sergeant too. I don't have to listen to you. I said, Swanson, if you say one more thing, I'm gonna take this broomstick and hit you upside the head with it. And he just didn't say shit. I had a broomstick in my hand. And I swear to God, man, I was gonna hit him right upside the head with it if you'd have said one more goddamn thing.
Very good, very good. Thank you for sharing that, Mike. And just to kind of recap, you said that you attribute coming from a big family, coming from having a lot of cousins. You kind of attribute that to learning how to get along with people, and that's kind of. Is there anything else that contributed to your success?
Oh, dude, I had some good leaders, man. Gunny Cole. Gunny Cole was solid, man. I don't know what y'all thought about him, but that dude was solid. And I had like 2 or 3 staff NCOs before him that were kind of the same way, man. Like, by the book, but fair. And if you can get a fair dude, like, you'll never have a bad, because fair is fair, man. Like, you take your licks, but at least it's not like, you get some guys that are super emotional and they're always kiss asses trying to appease everybody else. Man, you don't know what to get from them. Like, one day you'll get this from them and the next day it'll be something else. It's hard to work with guys like that. So consistency in your styles, a strong moral compass. Bro, I was lucky to have some dudes to learn from early on. One guy right now, Mike Apicella, I don't know if y'all have ever met a guy named Apicella, but he's I think he just got selected for major. So Chief Warrant Officer, LDO major. And I just saw him a couple weeks ago out in North Carolina. He's at the schoolhouse. He's actually in charge of the schoolhouse for the Red Patchers and embarkers.
I have a Marine working there right now.
Huh?
I have a Marine working there right now.
Yeah, so Apicella's in charge of them dudes over there at the schoolhouse. And bro, he was my corporal when I was a Lance Corporal, and just legit, man. Just a fucking legit ass dude, good at his job, and having examples like that around is what steered me and it kept me in the right direction, I think. Dom, I spent, after I left y'all, I was in the staff. I was at the schoolhouse, and then I was in the S3, S4, G4 staff. And bro, I don't think that there's a lot of bad people out there. I think that there's a lot of stressed out people. Their family lives, their bosses, their coworkers. Bro, I think people are just stressed out, man. Their kids, their wives. And when stress is applied to you, some people just don't know how to deal. And I mean, shit, y'all are dealing with it right now, man. Every one of you has some kind of stress, and you sink or swim, man, in the stress. That's it.
But I also think some leaders, bro, they forget to look down and they always look up.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's like one of the biggest problems. Is like they only care about what the person that's going to write their fit rep says about them, and they don't care about what the Marines that are looking up to them think
Joey,
about.
Joey, you did the MCI leading Marines, I'm sure, back in the day.
Sure
You know,
did.
what comes first, troop welfare or mission accomplishment?
Oh man, troop welfare. We know that.
No, bro. So the book answer says mission accomplishment, right? I mean, we all know that.
Yeah.
But guess what? Troop welfare is part of mission accomplishment, man. If you ain't taking care of your dudes, you ain't gonna accomplish the
If
mission.
they ain't gonna follow you, bro, you're gonna accomplish the mission.
Yeah, no, that's straight up, man. So like, it goes hand in hand. Holy shit, dude, bro. My transition was hard, and I retired. It is a hard transition, no matter when you get out, and trying that everybody goes through hard times when you get out, bro. There's no financial problems, but bro, we got plenty of money. But that doesn't
other thing.
Struggle in other ways, man, like physically or mentally, you know. And I'm sure Joey, you did it, and Jimmy did it. Like fucking, y'all do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad you brought that up because I want to kind of ask y'all about that too. Now, last episode, we spent half the episode talking to Jimmy about his work history after the military, which was very interesting. He worked in a prison for 6 months in Tennessee. Is that correct?
Yep.
And
and bro, like you worked at the chow hall, like when you were an inmate. Is that?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I was one of the
was a slugger,
trustees,
dude.
bro. They let me out of solitary every now and then, and I'd go out, I'd mop the floors, I'd put some slop on the trays, and it was game on.
He's got a deep suitcase, bro, so they hired him.
But back to what you said, I think you hit the nail on the head by saying that, you know, kind of putting it out there that, you know, no matter, you know, if you take the financial part and you put that to the side, there's still plenty of issues that most service members are dealing with after they leave the military, especially in the Marine Corps. Do you want to shed some light on what those? Do we want to kind of get into that? Anybody have some examples of what they kind of went through and kind of dealt with physically and mentally after they moved on?
I mean, I've said it before, like you don't miss the dumb shit that comes with the Marine Corps, which is part of it and like makes us who we are, but you miss the Marines. You miss the camaraderie. Like you miss being able to go to work and just being around a bunch of people who understand you for who you are, and you can like, you know, cuss all day long and, you know, do dumb things and like play pranks on each other and no one cares, you know. And then like once you get away from that and you have like, you know, a few vet friends here and there, people that are still in, and you come back, it's like, people don't understand that, and they think you're like either like crude or I don't know, just like being weird or something, you know. And that's one of the biggest things that's like hard to like find people with the same sense of I guess humor that we have, being veterans and, you know, active duty military.
Gotcha.
And you know, and you will find people like that, and they understand, and they're like, no, I'm all about it. And other people do that, like they look at you like, you know, they're like, what's wrong with this dude?
It's different, man. I've never met a civilian that can truly understand, because they didn't go through boot camp. They didn't play all the games, man. In the military, you play a lot of games, and it just seems unnecessary at times, but it's for the greater good of camaraderie and being able to establish teamwork and esprit de corps, right? I mean, true that. It is what it is, but that's why we're so good at what we do. And you missed it, man. I don't care if you man, dude, you got out after one enlistment, you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss working with them dudes, accomplishing missions. And it could be as simple as HST or a long deployment, combat, non-combat. It doesn't matter, man. You're gonna miss it. And that's what people struggle with, because you're never gonna find that in the civilian world. You can't, because it's not the civilian world.
Even like field day, bro, the shittiest fucking thing you could think of. You're like, fuck, man, that shit was fun. You know, you think like, you're like, nah, field day sucks. And then now you're like, that shit was actually pretty fun, dude.
Chavez, I'm glad you brought that up. Was it fun because it was fun, or was it fun because of the alcohol?
I mean, the alcohol played a big part. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like cleaning shit with Q-tip and like trying to impress someone when they walk in your room by wiping their hand on the ground, you know, that's like a separate task in itself. But it's like, when you think about it, you're like, man, this sucks. We got to clean this thing so crazy. But like now, like looking back on it, it's like, dude, we cleaned the shit out of that barracks room, bro. Like, people would come in there with Q-tips and like rub their fingers on the wall and look for like little tiny traces of dirt, you know. And I remember Estrada, was it me, you, and Lopez that got like what was it? We used to win like the cleanest room.
Yeah, because
we didn't have to do field day.
Yeah,
Because
Brand.
you're all Mexican.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Gunny Brand had this thing going on about the golden room. Is that right?
Yeah.
And whoever got field day, whoever the best room in field day would not have to field day the next week. But we got it every week, man.
Yeah,
every week. Because the room was just clean all the time. Like all the time.
And the dudes in the barracks room right next to you guys, I don't even remember who they were, but there were some cats that were getting ready to EAS. They had like a couple of recliners in there. I mean, it looked like a straight up frat room.
So that helped a lot because they will see the worst room in the, worst room in the barracks, and then they will come to a room that was so clean. So that would just be the best room the whole time.
Yeah.
Dude, do you remember when I punched out the window and you were sleeping and it went all over your bed? And then we had all the NCOs say it was a soccer ball because they didn't want to get in trouble either, dude. Well, it was our room, but Estrada wasn't waking up to open the door, and I didn't have my keys, so I just kept banging on the window really hard, and then my fist went through it.
That was actually my fourth cycle on the Mew, and I did the 31st Mew twice, which was kind of like baby Mews, right? But they were still Mews, so we did the workups and we did all that deployments, whatever. And then I did the cycle before, and then I did you guys, and so I knew the ropes, man. You basically start all over every cycle and relearn everything. Whether you know it or not, you have to relearn your job. And so I was like, man, okay, I got this. I said, hey, ma'am, I'll make sure the Marines do their job and don't get in trouble. You just make sure that we're good in the eyes of the command. So make sure that we're taken care of in the meetings and the planning and all that stuff, and we'll be fine. We'll stay out of trouble. And the way that I kept y'all out of trouble is just by PTing y'all. Like, we'll just PT all the time, and we'll stay out of trouble, right? So you go to the workups. Bro, I knew that the game is we don't have a job unless we're actually deploying. Like, okay, there might be some HST scheduled, but we don't have a job. We didn't have a job anytime we went to the field outside of, like, pulling, camp guard or whatever mess duties we might have had. It was bogus. So you have to put up with that BS, and really it's all about building our platoon. So building our platoon and like being able to work together. And that's all that we were trying to accomplish, man. The job was going to get done no matter what. But how do I keep everybody's mind at ease? Because I just lived your shoes knowing that, why the fuck are we here? Why are we here? Why are we here? We're not needed, man. Why is so many people here? Can't half of us just go home? Why do we have to stay here till 1600 every day? Or whatever the case may be. Because it is what it is, man. Some things you just have to tolerate. And all I was trying to do was be the pattern for you guys to make sure that mentally we were cool. Because as soon as somebody gets stressed out, then that's when guys get in trouble. You're stressed out at work, you go beat your wife. You're stressed out at work, you go become an alcoholic. You go get in trouble out in town, whatever the situation may be. Man, if work is cool, it makes your family life a little bit easier too.
You said you did 2 pumps on the 31st Mew in Okinawa, and you did the cycle on the 24th Mew out of Lejeune before?
Yeah, we went to, so we did all the workups. So we did 6-month workups, and then we went to Iraq for 9 months. That was combat, man. That was like getting shot at every day, blown up. Like, I'm sure people had it worse than us, but bro, motherfuckers were dying and getting hit with shrapnel, all that good stuff. So you met some guys, Joey. I mean, were you at BTO for a little bit?
Yeah, me and Brady and Fowler were talking about that. The first guy we ran into was Corporal Shoop.
He gave everybody a ringworm, dog.
Fucking A, dude.
You might have wrestled.
Don't ever wrestle with that dude.
I mean, so Shoop was there. Kenny Perkins and Mike Anderson, Jerry Weeks, Joel Newport, Knight, Steiner, man, Humphrey, like all those NCOs, man. When you guys got to BTO, they had all just came back from the MU with us, man, and we were convoy security. You know, we were running security teams, and I mean, we weren't no hot shits. We were just had some machine guns on the back of trucks. But guys were getting shot at. Guys were getting hit with shrapnel, man. We had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. So we had the same size platoon. What do we have? 26 red patchers with us. And then the cycle before, we had 26. Well, 10 or 12 of them got Purple Hearts. So imagine a third of the platoon getting hit with shrapnel. You know, like we didn't have to live through that with us, but the cycle before we did. You know, a third of the guys, man, 1 out of every 3 got hit with shrapnel. Man, mortars, rockets.
Wow, that's pretty intense. Yeah, I mean, these were the guys that we were meeting coming in, and it kind of set the tone. It kind of, that was reality, is that these guys were walking around with Purple Hearts. They just got back from Iraq, and then, we were there for a short amount of time at LS Company or BTO, like you said, and then we chopped right to the MU and all linked, and then that's how we all linked up, essentially.
Yeah. So there was a potential for us to be in a dangerous situation. Well, guess what? We got a libo float for the majority of it. Well, Chavez rolled over to the next cycle, and they were in combat. Some of their guys were in combat in those situations. You don't know, man. It's just timing. You don't get to pick that you want to go be in a combat zone or go fight somebody. Just, bro, the Marine Corps picks that for you.
Got it.
The first cycle in Okinawa was a libo float. I mean, straight libo, man. We did, you got some working ports where you do some humanitarian assistance, or you do some port ops or some HSTs or something like that. But, Iraq hadn't kicked off yet. So there was an Afghan, there was forces in Afghan, but the Marine Corps hadn't really established itself like big time. So when OIF kicked off, we were on ship in Okinawa, but because we're like a baby MU, we're not, bro, we're not as well trained as the MUs out of Cali and North Carolina. So, when OIF kicked off, we went to Guam for like 5 days of libo, And it's still, a lot of the things are the same, the training, the ship life and all that. But the difference is, man, you have so much more time to go shoot in California or North Carolina versus Japan. You just don't get as much gun time, as much training time, field ops. You don't get them in Japan, So.
What do you remember from that Afghanistan deployment with the MU in those days, Chavez?
I don't know. That shit was fucking wild, man. It was cool. Like, it was fun. Like, sometimes it sucked and sometimes it was fun. But, like, I mean, I guess we weren't even, like, really in shit, dude, compared to what other guys were doing.
Yeah, there was dudes doing
convoys. We were getting mortared here and there and shit. Like, yeah, it sucks, dude. But, like, you accept it. I remember, like, when we got there, dude, like, the siren would go off and everybody would go for the shelter or whatever. And then, like, I don't know, after a month and a half, 2 months, like, alarm went off. They're like, incoming. Everybody just stayed in bed, dude. Like, like, no, it's something that you get used to. And, like, I think that's why a lot of, like, veterans that, experience different, I guess, levels of what that is come out with more, significant cases of PTSD and all that stuff. But, I mean, it changes you for the rest of your life, dude. Like I ain't scared of, like, a lot of things that other people are scared of, because you're like, dude, like, that's not scary, And, like, I think, I don't know, a lot of people don't understand that.
When you're in those situations, man, your fight or flight kicks in. You could be at a bar fight, back in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and your fight or flight will kick in. Well, you're not scared of dying in a bar fight, but when rockets and mortars are hitting or gunshots, there's a little bit higher risk or potential for you to actually get seriously injured. and your fight or flight kicks in. Well, sooner or later, you become calloused. And I think that's
You don't care anymore. There's no more fight or flight. It's just like,
here we go. Yeah.
yeah, again, you know, you're numb, right?
Yeah. Chavez, I'm not sure, if you ever saw somebody flight in those situations, but I absolutely saw people fly versus fight. When we were getting shot at or when we were getting more rocket, I seen dudes that were fucking pissing their pants scared. But I'm not knocking them, man, because we were in a dangerous spot, but sooner or later you become numb to that. And when you get back to America, like, what are you supposed to be scared of, man? What on a day-to-day, are you really scared of anything? Because you're not going to die,
No, that's true. Exactly what I was trying to say. You're numb, dude. You're just like, that's not even like this whole thing now. I think it's like weird with like the pandemic, dude. It's like that. Like I'm not scared of it. Like people die every day. Like,
yeah.
I don't want people to die, but I guess we probably shouldn't fucking get into that. But
Well, no, thank you guys for that. Appreciate you bringing that up. I mean, you're saying so. I mean, essentially, it sounds like what you're saying is, look, after a certain period of time, that's your new baseline normal, and you kind of build up a tolerance to those types of experiences. Jimmy,
ask Jimmy, dude. Remember, bro, when we would like everybody put all their shit on and run to the bunker, and then
and we chatted about it a little last week. And the reality is, by the end of deployment, you get some salt on you. You have a mortar hit, you have something go off, and at the beginning of it, I remember I was telling these guys last week. I remember, I was the squad leader at that point. So mortar went off, everybody went out to the cement bunker. I was sitting there, I was taking roll, my hands were shaking, the adrenaline was pumping. By the end of that, it was just fucking snoring, right? You don't even get out of the cot at that point. So yeah, you become numb. Yeah, you become careless, is the reality of it, another word for it. But at that point, you're 9 months in, you're in the middle of the desert, you're ready to go home, and it's kind of my time or it's not. We'll let that mortar decide whether I'm leaving or not.
How did y'all deal with it coming back to the States? How did y'all deal with it transitioning out of the Marine Corps?
I'm dealing with it right now.
Yeah.
You don't really transition. Your emotions are still numb. I mean, my wife gets on me all the time. My kids get on me all the time about maybe not putting as much emotion into certain things. And you don't get to go back to what you used to be. Like once you're calloused, you just, bro, I'm not no badass, man. But once you're hard, you're just hard. Like you don't get to go back to soft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And listen,
the biggest plan.
What dudes don't understand is like there's fucking hard dudes in junior high and high school out in the ghetto and the projects that are living those hard lives that they don't have to be in the military to be hard. Like, bro, there's plenty of hard dudes in the civilian world and they're the same way. They got no emotion because they've been through that shit already.
I think the biggest thing that helped me during transition time is just having a plan. If you're just walking around aimlessly and kind of caught in the fold, then that's where you become lost. But you just got to be thinking same way you were thinking strategically in the military. You got to have a plan set out, whether it's, one day ahead of you, 1 week ahead of you, 1 month ahead of you, and figure out what that path is that you're walking.
Jimmy, I've been to therapy too, bro. One day at a time.
1 day at a time, but 1 minute at a time.
But thank you for that, gentlemen. So it sounds like we're saying it's kind of like an ongoing process. It's never really there's never really a finish line.
No. Unless you change who you are, man. Then we are who we are, and I'm not going to change who I am.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have a lot of emotion, but I'm cool with who I am, man.
Yeah, dude. It lives inside you, man. Like, it's like fucking, like, you're proud of it, dude. I'm proud that I was in the Marine Corps and fucking did all the shit I did. And, like, maybe I'm a little bit weird to society, but I don't give a fuck.
I agree. it's always a process. I left the Marine Corps, active duty, 2013. And since then, I, went straight into the reserves, and I've been in the reserves since for the last 5-6 years, and went straight into a federal job, which it wasn't the agency that I was looking for, but the opportunity opened up, and I ended up with a different agency, but still in the government. I, looked for different opportunities and ended up being a small business owner, and it became something good for me, so now I have 3 different jobs, and when school, so there was a point in my life after the Marine Corps active duty when I was, running a business, being a reservist, going to school, and being a federal employee, and I'm going to tell you what, with all those things together, man, I think the stress, Rubio was touching, he was talking about stress earlier. I think the stress of active duty does not compare to my 4 jobs together, man. It doesn't, I was doing 4 jobs, 4 things, and being a dad and a husband. And that the stress and the time that the military, the active duty takes away from you doesn't compare with me doing all those 5 things together.
Yeah, at the end of the day, dude, the military is pretty easy. You show up, you PT, you shoot straight, and you'll do okay, right?
That's what Rubio told me one day.
You don't need to figure
Rubio
out.
told me that one time.
Shower and shave. So if you can handle that and get a haircut, show up looking pretty fresh on Mondays, you're all right, man. The real world's not so forgiving.
Dude, Rubio told me that shit one time. He was like, dude, he's like, why would you get out of the Marines? He's like, it's the easiest job in the world. All you have to do is show up. I was like, damn, dude. Like, you told me that one day, dude, because I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna stand. You're like, dude, just stand, dude.
You guys ever meet? You guys might
show up. They can't fire you.
Lex Wickham. You guys might know Wickham. Wickham came back to BTO when I was at the schoolhouse, and he was senior to me by like a whole year. And he was getting out when we came back from our deployment. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Like, it's the easiest job you'll ever have. 2 years later, he comes back, lost all his time in grade as a sergeant, has start over or whatever. But, man, the Marine Corps is easy. But in another light, man, it's difficult because there's peaks of difficulty that become very, very stressful at times,
Yeah, but you have to be a Marine, too, though. You can't just be some geek off the streets, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So I think the stress doesn't come from the actual job, man. Sometimes it comes from the people.
Yeah.
I'm being honest. The job we do, man. Not only as a basic landing support Marine, but as a 7 CO. Which our job changes a lot after you become a 7 CO. But the stress doesn't come from the actual job, but from the people, man, that we work with. Chavez was talking about lieutenants and officers, how to make it stressful, and but the same thing, Rubio. So it's not the job. Sometimes it's just the people, and the time. Sometimes the time that we invest, during the deployments, the workups. So in the MU, we do all those workups for 6 months, and then you go on the deployment for what, 6-8 months? You're talking about a year, man. That you're out. You don't spend it with the family, with the kids. I remember coming back from the last deployment. Crystal went from being like a little girl, man, to being this, 10, 12 years old, So I was gone for almost 2 years. So I don't even know where that time went to. I agree with Chavez. I think I don't miss the bullshit in the Marine Corps, but I do miss a lot being, around you guys and some of the friends that that I've made during my time in the Marine Corps. Man, I think that's what I miss the most. Just hanging out with the boys, having a good time, going out, even being in the suck, man. But just sharing that time with your boys, man, getting to know each other. We spent so much time together that me and Grignon and Burnett were in the same ship. Is that right, Grignon? You were in the rack. I was right in the middle, and Burnett was in the bottom.
Yep.
I got to spend so much time with those guys, man, that I knew when somebody farted, I knew who it was.
Bro, we've all seen each other's dicks, bro. Like, straight up. Like, don't fucking lie, dog.
But I'm gonna tell you what, man. If Grignon farted, I knew it was Grignon just because of the smell, you know. And when Burnett did it, I knew it, you know.
Well, you know it's Burnett with all that protein powder, bro.
Dude, any one of you guys could have been, you know, the squad leader, platoon sergeant, you know, but there's only so many positions to give out. But, like, I remember Grignon, like, stepping up. Grignon stepped up hard in a lot of different ways when I think, like, somebody like Chavez was a little more content with his role. Not that that's a bad thing, but Chavez did a good job of getting along, you know, making sure he did what he had to do to stay out of to make sure he wasn't getting fucked with, you know. But I think Grignon took a little bit more initiative in trying to be in charge, but there's only so many spots to be in charge. You know, you can only give somebody so much authority because our job is not hard. Bro, a PFC, Lance Corporal, like, they can do our job, you know. The only difference is the understanding of what needs to get done or how it needs to get done. A little bit of understanding is it, man. It takes no intelligence. And we were lucky that we had, bro, 20 dudes that could have been in charge. You know, of our 26, 20 of them could have been in charge. 6 of them, not a fucking chance. And one of them was fucking in charge. So, shit. So, in any time when you look back, like, you probably thought in your head, Joey, you probably thought, like, I could be in charge, a squad leader, a platoon sergeant. Like, yeah, you could have. But guess what? There's other motherfuckers too. Like, they didn't do nothing to not deserve that, and they're senior. Like, they got another rank or whatever, man. But, I mean, you had it, dude. Like, Joey, you were a character, man. And, like, all you guys had y'all's own character traits, and they were all good. You know, they all worked. But there's only one guy in charge, and then he has, like, 2 or 3 guys, and then they all have their guys, and you just wait your turn. If you would have stayed in, you would have been that staff NCO, you know, all you guys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Michael, I'm glad that you brought that up. Thank you for that. We were talking, because we were touching on this last time, the dynamic of the LS platoon when we were all together on the MEU, how virtually it seemed like half of the platoon was NCOs and the other half was us without the deployment experience. And there was kind of that, you know, and you put in the fact that, like you said, when we're not doing operations, beach, port, helo, we don't really have a purpose. We don't really have a job. So when you kind of put those things together, you know, you kind of gotta figure it out. You know, you gotta figure it out. And it seemed like the way that you kind of negotiated that was, hey, look, was good communication with your, like you said, your officer, you know, the lieutenant, the person that you were responsible, you know, that you were working for, good communication and good guidance for the guys, just making sure that, hey, we're busy doing PT, we're doing something. Sounds like that was the kind of the keys to success.
Yeah, because
that you found.
We had 2 hours, 3 hours max of work to do every day. If we weren't doing an HST or port op, there might have been 2 or 3 hours of work that actually needed to get done. And that's like busy work, some annual training, some getting some gear ready or something like that. But you can't just go home, man. You can't just do that. You know, you still got to be around. So try to be productive when you are around. And I figure, listen, at least we'll be in shape.
What other memories do y'all have from playing sports and being competitive during those times?
Let me start, man, and, you know, I'll give it to you guys. When I got there, I said, let's go play football. Not that great. I said, let's go play basketball. Not that great. And one day I said, man, what can y'all do? And I think it was Wilson. I think it was Wilson, man, or Mason, one of them two, because, you know, they were like twins, right? Somebody said, what about soccer? You know, and I was like, well, who could play soccer? And I swear, man, 20 dudes raised their hand and said, you know, Grignon, Brady, like Mason, Estrada, Chavez, they all had soccer backgrounds, right? Like, everybody played soccer. I was like, there we go, soccer, game on. We just played soccer from then on out.
And then so we got, you know, and then the beach ops. Can we talk about that? I mean, I think everything pretty much went smoothly for the most part. I mean,
bonfires. You know, we went to those beach ops. I bet we did 6 of them or 7 beach ops. You know, I mean, maybe 5 or 6, but then onloads, offloads. You know, double that.
Yeah.
And one thing is, I knew the rules. I knew the rules of what we can and can't do. And I knew when it was working hours, we were trying to work. But when it wasn't working hours, man, we bonfire, have booze out there, bonfires, whatever. And I wasn't trying to break the rules, but I was trying to bring morale to the situation. And the cycle before, we had Belinsky. And I don't know if y'all ever met Belinsky, but he was our staff debt chief.
That motherfucker was a psycho, dog.
Belinsky would not let us have bonfires. He wouldn't let us drink on the beach, but it was legal. We weren't doing anything illegal. So I'm like, let's do this, man. And I mean, we had except for when that GP tent blew over into the bushes. I don't know who was there for that, man, but that was bad.
Hey, Grignon, were you with me in Estrada whenever we went to report to the LS company and Belinsky was the company gunny?
I remember that name, but I can't put a face to it. We all reported together, though.
He was the bald guy with the fucking crazy blue eyes. And he was like, let me tell you something, Marines. I'm so fucking Americana that he's like, me and my wife got fucking married on the 4th of July. I proposed to her on Veterans Day. And he was like spitting all over the fucking desk and shit. He's from the TV series, dude. The freaking Making Marines thing.
Ears open, eyeballs click.
Yeah, he's in that shit.
He was the drill instructor that they followed around. That was him.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, dude. Jimmy, were you there for that?
I mean, I'm sure I was. I don't remember that shit at all, though. We all reported together.
There was like 4 or 5 of us just like in his office, dude, and he was just like spitting fire, bro. And I was like, what the fuck's up with this guy?
Joey, you remember when we went to Virginia and we stayed up there for a month?
Yes. Yeah.
So one morning, I caught the Sergeant Major's ear. Sergeant Major of the MEU. Little short guy, I forgot his name. And he said, oh, hey, Sergeant Rubio, what's going on, man? He knew us from the beach because they seen us out there. And he was like, what's going on? And I was like, not much. He's like, what are you guys doing out here? And I was like, I don't even know why we're here. Bro, that was the worst thing I've ever told somebody because he brought it up in the CO's meeting. And, man, they let Lieutenant Holden have it.
Damn.
They told her, so guess what? But, hey, listen, I got my ass chewed. She's like, you're going to make Colonel Barry look good, this and that. I said, I'm not going to lie. We shouldn't have been out here in the first place because we shouldn't have. We shouldn't have went to Virginia. There's nothing for us to do out there. And they're like, this is your unit. You got to be here. And I said, listen, if somebody asks me a question, I'm going to give them an honest answer. But from that day, she chewed my ass. She loved me after that. And we got to do anything that we wanted. After that, bro, we were untouchable. We got to do whatever training we wanted, whatever gun shoots we wanted. Like, nobody fucked with that. Bro, we were golden after I got that ass chewing.
Yeah.
And so in Virginia, we got to do that Seagal training. Remember that, like, that convoy training with all the role players and shit? That was pretty cool, right?
That was sick, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, if I wouldn't have got my ass chewed, we would have never touched that shit. That was promoted.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because that kind of brings some awareness and some insight, to the level that you were at and kind of the influence that you had with the higher ups.
I don't know if y'all remember, we were just like sitting around hip pocket classing it up while Motor T was doing all the training. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, and I've always been ignorant in like common sense. If it makes sense to me, I'm just going to say it comes out my mouth. And it's got me in trouble sometimes, definitely. But at the end of the day, I felt like I was always doing the right thing. I wasn't just talking shit to talk shit.
Yeah. And then after Virginia was you pretty much had the freedom to do as you please, essentially, with the platoon.
So when I say freedom, when I said that we were going to do something, I never got questioned after that. If I said, hey, we're going home, okay, we must be going home. If I said, hey, we're, whatever we're doing, man, like I never got any flack after that. not because we were badass, because people know that I'm not just bullshitting, man. We're going to be there to do the job. We want to train. We want to do our job. And so we're not trying to just slack ass and cut corners. But if there's nothing to do, there's nothing to do. And so we, go home early or just go PT on our own schedule, Nobody fucked with us.